Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. First of all, I would like to thank Metro Rail News for inviting me as a speaker in Metro 2021. With your permission, I would like to deliver my talk without slides. I do feel that this will be more engaging and a free flowing process. I realize that I am not talking to an audience that I am talking to an audience that is overwhelmingly MRT and railway professionals. I am not. But I run another public transit system called PRT, Personal Rapid Transit, which is not in competition with other systems, but in collaboration and cooperation for mutual benefit of both systems. But let me start by talking about MRT first in a wholly constructive, non competitive, and a collaborative manner. Let's start with Delhi Metro, which is the best in India so far. It is the largest and the best. It has 389 kilometers of route operating and another 116 more in phase 4, which makes it one of the larger metro systems in the world. This was started 23 years ago. From concept to start of construction, it took 27 years in approval, in planning, and in final approvals. In the financial year 2018-2019, ridership averaged about 2.3 million people per day. The National Capital Region, which it serves, has a population of about 33 to 35 million, which will exactly be known after the census survey this year of 2021. And it is rising by a million every year. This is not only the case of Delhi in the National Capital Region, but this is the case of all cities in the world, especially in Asia, where there is a tsunami of urbanization, and we need to be able to cater to the transit needs of these people. Anyway, in Delhi, the average coverage of Delhi Metro is about 7%, is the ridership of as a percentage of the total population. And the standing to seated ratio is about 6 to 1. This, if you look at average people per day per kilometer, it carries about 6,000 people per kilometer per day. I believe the investment that has been spent in building the metro system in the NCR has been approximately 13 to 15 billion dollars because exchange rates keep on changing, and it is more if you work out the net present value of historical costs. Roughly, this translates to about, if you amortize this cost over 20 years, the capital cost works out to about 60 rupees, which is a little under a dollar, per passenger for 20 years, which is very high. And this does not include interest on that the capital or operating costs and maintenance costs as well. So, and I do not think that this is recovered fully in the fare collection. What this suggests is that capex in MRTs needs to reduce and ridership needs to increase, and there are ways of doing it. Metros are key. They are linear systems, they are key systems, they're mass movement systems, but they are not key in isolation. Because as we have seen in the NCR in India, that they are able to cover only a certain percentage, which is not enough, of urban mobility. It cannot be devoid or underserved by feeders and last mile because that reduces ridership quite a bit. It limits the options of riders to use the metro systems because they are not able to go from their home to their destination in one connected way. They need systems to do this, which are high capacity. This is the feeders and the last mile is what I'm talking about. At least it should feed or evacuate 50% of entire trains at peak hours at different stations without congesting roads even further. There are a lot of feeders and last mile that have been tried, but they are not making a significant impact to increase ridership on the metro. This will, having a system that is large scale and is able to effectively evacuate or feed the metros rapidly, will significantly increase ridership and also reduce the cost, which I will come to in a minute. We have taken an example in Indian City, whereby by overlaying the PRT over the metro and the BRT systems, we estimate that the ridership on the metro will increase by 29% without incurring any additional capital cost. This will dramatically improve the viability of the metro in all the cities with this connectivity with last mile and feeder systems. So this brings me to my system, which we are promoting all over the world at the moment, which is PRT, Personal Rapid Transit. I have often heard people talk about PRT as new, untested technology. It is not. PRT started in 1974, which was actually before DMRC came into operation, a long time before. It was built by Boeing Corporation. Collaboratively, PRT systems around the world have operated nearly 400 million passenger kilometers, which is a huge track record, and successfully without incident. What is new is that with the technology development and enabling incremental improvements in the system, the control system, and the vehicles, new avatars of PRT have emerged. Basics are the same: autonomous, electric, personal, or small vehicles. The first system has always suffered from cost overruns, due to which the pace of development slowed down. Today, the PRT ecosystem consists of close to 30 companies, large and small, some very large, with 4 operational systems operating globally. 13 are under construction and many under procurement globally or in the pipeline. Recent research studies have placed the PRT global opportunity at $1.5 trillion out of a total transport opportunity of $7 trillion, comprising of all forms of transport: cars, buses, trucks, trains, MRTs, monorails, and more. In other words, more than 20% of all transportation is projected to be PRT in the next few years. And this will cover nearly 3,000 cities globally, of which 300 cities are already in the pipeline. Are already in the pipeline. I have also heard people say that PRT is for small applications with low ridership, such as parks, airports, campuses, etc. Again, this is not true. We have signed a project for 220 kilometers of route length in a 10 million people city that will result in increasing walkability of that city from 20% to 42%. The result of this will be significant modal shift from private to public, reducing cars and improving air quality, reducing the carbon footprint, in close collaboration with MRT and LRT routes in that city. This was essential because this will provide seamless station-level connectivity and give the riders a complete connected option from origin to destination. We have also proposed a 700-kilometer route linking several cities and distribution within the cities. I have also occasionally been told that PRT is a small capacity system. Again, this is not true. It has a maximum capacity of 21,600 people per direction per hour with a 6-seater vehicle. Under development is a 10-seater vehicle version that will take the capacity beyond 30,000 PHPDT. And this is a very large capacity, not a small capacity. And it is only exceeded by MRT in urban mobility applications. So what is a PRT? Autonomous and electric pods, also known as pod taxis in India, on a segregated, usually elevated guideway. It is a feeder and last mile to all other linear transit systems like MRTs, railways, and airports. It also is an independent urban transit system in cities that don't have MRTs or are unable to fund an MRT. It is an on demand system that doesn't operate on a schedule, but only when there is demand and in proportion to that demand. In other words, you don't wait for the transit waits for you. Much less energy used and much lower operating costs. It is an origin to destination and non-stop system. It's a loop system and a network system. There may be 15 different routes to take you from point A to point B, but the pod will decide which route to take. It is a fast system because it doesn't stop at intermediate stations. It can reach speeds of 100 kilometers per hour, but usually operates at about 60 kilometers per hour. And there's much more. Turning radius of only 5 meters, climbing slopes of 20%, but this is not recommended, ability to fit into any crowded space, minimal land requirement, mostly no land requirement, because everything is elevated stations, maintenance yards, and the track. And no need to cut trees usually. And fast constructability with minimal disruption in the city. But most importantly, it is the most sustainable system, complying with 7 of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals of 2030. Plus, it is the most profitable, with ability to attract private sector funding. This is important because governments around the world and also in India usually will not, increasingly so, if they want to increase urban transit, have the capacity to raise all the funding for public transit. It is the lowest capex and the lowest opex of any system that I am aware of. Right now, let me move to hydrogen. We are moving towards a hydrogen future all over the world in the near term, and there are many, many countries and major countries around the world that have announced programs till 2030, till 2040. Japan is one shining example. Some Northern European countries have also done so. The US administration recently has paid a major emphasis on renewable energy and also infrastructure creation. India has also announced a recent hydrogen policy, which is very good. It requires some detail at the moment working, especially with the aspect of demand creation. With the price of energy from solar and wind hovering around 2 rupees or about 2.5 cents per unit, the potential cost of producing hydrogen has become very competitive. Hydrogen is a range extender. For example, a single fill of 5 minutes will enable our pods to travel between 600 to 700 kilometers. Also, the short filling time increases the fleet uptime, reducing the operating costs per passenger kilometer. Additionally, the possibility of large-scale hydrogen production from biomass is very, very exciting. There are quite a few people working on this as well. And as you know, developing countries like India and others in the Asia-Pacific region have a lot of agricultural waste and biomass that can be used as feedstock to produce hydrogen. PRT pods and projects will use green hydrogen as a fuel. Eventually, we may have to start with some gray hydrogen where there is a shortage of green hydrogen production all over the world, in India and overseas. We will be aggregated demand creator for hydrogen fuel, which will hopefully kickstart the hydrogen economy in many countries. This aggregated demand at specific locations in different cities will also serve to fuel other hydrogen fuel cell transit like buses and trucks and cars eventually. In view of time limitation, I think I had only 15 minutes allotted time. I will end here and I will be happy to take any questions. And by the way, I've stuck to exactly 15 minutes of time. Thank you so much. I have also sent a PPT of what is PRT to the organizers of this event. Thank you.